Let's go. Hello everyone, this is Random as Poco, Airsoft Stuff, and I'm the Russian guy. This is an E&L Gen 1 AK-74M, pre-ordered in November of 2013, been my main gun since. In this video, I'm going to be showing you all the basic information you need to swap the externals. Whether this is because you're making a reenactment kit and you need your AK to be more modern, or you just want to swap things out to your own preference. Now, I always advise for you to buy, whether it's the cyma, LCT, E&L, JHK, if you're into masochism, the stock versions of these guns. No rails, no stocks, nothing changed, because it's much easier and cheaper usually to find, most of the time, to find the rails, the custom stuff than the stock stuff. Specifically with the E&L and LCT. You can find most of the cyma external parts in shops like Asia Airsoft or similar Hong Kong and China shops. In fact, Asia Airsoft has almost everything you need for the cyma AK, which will mostly be compatible with this one. Now, I'm going to be swapping some parts: muzzle device, gas tube, handguard, magazine, why not, pistol grip. I'm going to be adding a side rail, and I'm going to be swapping out the stock. Also, when I'll swap the pistol grip, I will add this small single point sling attachment. So, I will mostly go from tip to butt. If you are a Garand Thumb viewer, you will understand this reference, except for the pistol grip, which will be changed. No, the last thing will be the side rails, and before them, I'll do the pistol grip for one simple reason. Everything here will be done with just a couple of simple tools, plus not everything we're going to swap here will need tools at all. This is a big advantage that I think an AK has over an AR-15, both in real life and in Airsoft. Now, we're going to be using a flat screwdriver for the pistol grip. We will be using these tiny screwdrivers to remove the stock pin and to hold in place the little tab on the muzzle device. The hammer is optional, but you will probably need it if it's the first time you remove the stock pin, because it's kind of well thick down there, tight. So, muzzle device. E&L AKs, except for the AKM and AKMS, will have just one thread, a 22 clockwise millimeter thread. So your options will be limited, and that's a good thing, because I'm tired of people putting extremely ugly stuff as a muzzle device on their AK. You will be able to find an adapter for a negative or counterclockwise 14 millimeter thread, for example, for a tracer or a suppressor, mock suppressor. This is an AEG, why would you? Now, I will swap the standard 74M flash hider / compensator for the DTK1/3 compensator. This is a replica. This is was made by a unknown, mostly Russian manufacturer I bought in Russia a couple of years ago. Shop is closed now, and well, that's it. This is compatible with, as I said, Series 100, 74, 74S, and the AK-74U. And I think that's it. I'm not sure about the AK-12 and AK-15. These are new things for me. So I'll take one of these small screwdrivers. By the way, guys, of course, battery is out, everything is out. That's why I'm not wearing eye protection and basically maneuvering it around me like it's a toy, but no battery, no BBs. For practicality right now, it is a toy. But if you, by any reason, are doing this without removing the battery and or BBs, wear eye protection, please. Comes right off. As I said, 22mm clockwise. Sometimes you will find it as 24mm clockwise for the AliExpress ones, and I think people have bought them and are compatible, but the ones from Asura Dynamics, I think, are the ones that you're looking for. You can find them at places like BunnyWorkshop, maybe Asia Airsoft, maybe other bigger shops, but not that common on your local airsoft shop. You can also mount a DTK4 suppressor from Zenit, a replica, onto this, or I think the real one as well, but how in hell would you get a real DTK4 suppressor? I'm not gonna ask. The replicas, as I said, 22mm thread clockwise. And that's it, in just a couple seconds. It's just a muzzle device, but you will have to put that tab in. Most people maybe forget about it, maybe you don't know what to do with it. Just pull it, it's a spring. Now, in this case, the DTK1, make sure the 3 holes are looking upward and the 3 serrations are looking to the sides. That's the way. Now, gas block. Since this is airsoft, you do not have to take the bolt assembly out because it's non-existent. You just pop this little thingy up and it comes out. However, sometimes the battery may somehow end up inside that gas tube, I think. So make sure you remove the battery first. I'm putting in the Ultimac railed gas tube. This is a copy from cyma, and it has a core airsoft copy of the A1 sling attachment from Zenit. I mean, the original is from Zenit, the copy is from, I just said it, core airsoft, sorry, and a Chinese RMR. The Chinese RMR, I thought that you could see the iron sights through the RMR, both to co-witness and if you needed the, if it breaks, if it, you know, battery runs off, loses 0, it's Chinese knockoff after all, that you could see those iron sights through it, but you cannot. However, if you use a T1, both original or copy, Holosun, all those T1 style red dots, and you mount it with a low mount on one of these gas tubes, you will see the irons through, which is a good thing. Also, this tube comes with a couple clamps that will clamp onto the outer barrel, so if you need more stability, you can use them. I don't use them. So that will make it, of course, quicker. If you use the clamps, you will have to take the handguard off as well. Handguard, you remove the gas tube as I just shown, you pull this little tab that's on the right side from the inside upwards, take it away, and just pull. Yeah. I'll put on this AliExpress copy of the Zhukov handguard. Same story. However, the first time you put this on, you may see that they won't actually fit. In that case, the trusty old hammer will help you. Just slam gently from the front until it gets there, and then again from the top to the other thing. Don't worry about the quality of the handguard because it's basically clamped between the receiver and this piece up front, which are both made of steel in case of E&L and LCT. I never heard of anyone who would have any issue with the handguard breaking or going away or something. Wobble is minimal because the fit was hammered. Now, since I'm going to be putting a side rail and I run my sling through the M-lock threads, I will not be using the Ultimac railed gas tube anymore for my setup. I do not like putting rails if I don't have anything useful on them. However, this handguard does not have anything useful apart from the grip, from the hand stop made grip. It's a trans grip. I mean, it was born like a vertical grip, but it felt that it was a hand stop on the inside, so it changed gender or whatever. I'll just put on the standard gas tube that goes in, pull this little tab up, and you close it. There you go. Handguard swapped. Don't need the magazine now. There are a couple things that you can swap for the rear sight. I do not know how to take it off. I never bought anything that goes there. I don't have that need. But you have the TWI style railed top cover, which attaches to that rear sight, and you actually lose the rear sight. Big point there. And you also have some mounts for the T1 and the RMR made by Angry Gun. They are expensive as hell, quite hard to find. Never tried one, never seen one. But if you really want to mount a little tiny red dot here without using any side rails or anything, maybe an option for you. However, if you're really going that further up front, the T1 on the gas tube is much quicker to switch, much cheaper. However, I don't like that really small, really upfront red dot. It's too small to find it, but also going that front, if I bump into anything, more chances of it breaking. You take out this top cover, and I will talk about the battery real quick. It's not external, but it's something that, you know, you did have those stick type batteries for the old ones, the old ones, but now we use LiPos. Mine is from Hobby King. They have a warehouse both in the US and in Europe, I think in the Netherlands. And you will need a battery that is 1.5 centimeters, 1 centimeter, and the length will be around 16.5, 17 centimeters. The length does not really matter. It could be longer because you have plenty of space for it. As you can see, you have plenty of space. However, remember that you still have some wires there. You may be able to fit something a bit thicker, but these LiPos tend to get off, lose their figure. They might explode, they might burn. Be careful with them. Buy a couple of them in case it breaks. Mine's been running for a long time now, I think. I do buy some of them sometimes. Whenever a friend of mine says, hey, you want to buy something from Hobby King, I just get a couple of these. So stick with that size. When closing the top cover, in my case, the first time I popped it open and then I tried to close it, it didn't close. So we had to file this window down here for this button. When you're closing it, be careful. This is still an AEG, so you might have some wires there, especially I have a MOSFET here. So careful with that. Once you see there are no wires there, whoop, you can slap it and it's great. I just remember why I popped it open, because in order to change the stock, remove that stock pin, you will have to pop this open. Again, take one of these screwdrivers, take your hammer and hit it. Now mine comes off easily because I've swapped the stock a couple times now, a couple dozen times. In your case, the first time, this is a little bit like anal sex. May seem impossible at first, but then it's just freeway. Now take that pin out. The pins, the stock pins, these little stock pins, in case of the E&Ls, are 5.5 millimeters thick. The ones found on the cymas and the LCTs are 4.5, which means that if you try to fit an E&L stock on an LCT or a cyma, it will wobble. And if you try to fit a cyma or LCT or an aftermarket part, like in my case, the stock tube adapter, this is from also the unknown manufacturer from the flash hider, but I highly recommend using the Asura Dynamics one. That's copy of the SRVV, the Russian made one. Been seen in use with the FSB guys and that. You will have to work a little bit with them. Just file the inside of that stock adapter and it will run through just fine. I had a PT1 stock from Core Airsoft, had to do the same. If you're with LCT and cyma, just hammer it down, it should go through. If you're with E&L, you have to work a little bit more, but it's possible. Just, this is not Legos like AR-15s. This is going to be your main tool for anything. It's just so much fun. I mean, it's like Legos, but for men. Like it should be. Now, in my case, this just pops in right away. And a couple of hits with the old friend, the hammer, and that's done. Now, important thing that this works with all the underfolder AKs. In the case of the 74, the standard 74 with the solid wooden stock and the AKM, you will not be able to do that swap. You will have to unscrew the stock. You probably, if you have one, you probably deduced it already, and you will not be able to fit this side folder adapters. Of course, you will not be able to fit the PT1 or PT3 stocks without the real steel adapter, which also will not be compatible straight away, because you have a gearbox that you can see here that is in the middle, and this is why all these stocks, airsoft stocks and stock adapters for AEG have this angle on the upper part. So if you try to put a real steel stock, you will have to file that, and that's steel, so you need something with power for that to make it work. I don't know how where to find the adapter for the PT1 and PT3. I don't know how much it costs. I never seen one in my life. I don't know if it's compatible with the AKM and AK-74. I'm sorry. You will, however, be able to fit into those, the AKM and the standard 74, the cyma Zhukov stocks, both the solid and the folding, because they are made for those. You will also find several adapters for those for the stock tubes, but you have to go specific in that way. If you have an underfolder and it's an AEG, you're stuck with that stock. There are some manufacturers, I think it was Texas Weapon Industries, that made the stock tube adapter for the AKMS, the AK underfolders, but there's a thing with AEGs, and the receiver, it's a couple millimeters or maybe even centimeters thicker than the real one to accommodate the gearbox, so you won't be able to fit that on your AEG. But who has an underfolder anyway? And also, if you have one of those Romanian AKs with the wire stock, why would you have one of those? They are compatible with the standard 74 and AKM stocks, so you still be able to fit the Zhukov, you'll still be able to fit those adapters for those specific AKs I told you before. Now, once that stock is changed, I can put this back on. Now, Next will be the pistol grip, and usually you can swap out the pistol grip and then swap out the stock, but I'm going to be adding this little single point sling attachment that goes between the receiver and the pistol grip for AEGs made by cyma. I bought this from Taiwangun in Poland more than a year ago, a year and some months ago, and I just tried it now. Remember, flat screwdriver, it's not something small, it's a kind of a wide screw, but it's short, so it will be just a moment. Now be careful with this, because again you will have AEG parts in here, the cage, the motor and some wires, so try not to damage anything. You can see this screw is quite short, don't lose it. You only have one, grips do not usually include them, and I think none of mine do. I also have, and I had this for years, the one from Asura Dynamics, the RK03 copy for AEG. This is plastic and this is way bigger than the original one, which is made of aluminum, and you can store a couple of batteries in there. But again, you have to hide that motor somewhere, so it needs to be thicker. In this case, I'm using the cyma copy of the MacBook. These are extremely cheap, like €6 I think for each one of these, even less if you're going with something like a sale or anything. And I think you can find them on Asia Airsoft as well, maybe even on AliExpress. Now be careful with the wires when fitting this little thing here, and you will have to press a little bit in here so it fits properly, and be careful with the wires once again. Now I put this on a couple times now, and of course I tried firing the gun, works perfectly, no issues there, but you know, make sure it's nice and flat. And then the pistol grip, it should slide in, and then you use some force again, you push again from the sides so that everything attaches perfectly there, sits real flat there. Okay, and make sure that just a little bit of good old hammer, so that when you put that screw in, since it's a very short one, it really needs to touch that motor cage. And there you go. Don't overdo it. Again, you only have one of these. So it may seem awkward, but keep in mind that I have the rear sling attachment on the stock that I just removed. I do not have anything on this adapter. I would rather use the stock itself, but if I want to put a single point sling, I will have to go with one of these. I'm not going to be using a single point sling, but I just want to test it out, because there's a thing here that it may seem a bit uncomfortable. So I just want to try out how it goes. But also, the stock pin is now blocked from removal, which means that if I'm using this piece here, I will not be able to remove this stock just as easily as I did, and that's why I swapped the order of things. Last, and probably the easiest, most intuitive, most common thing that you will be attaching to your AK will be a side mount. Now these come in almost every AK out there for airsoft, just one type, but the AKM will be the AKM-N. That side mount is a bit different in real life, and the AKs in airsoft that do feature that side mount usually feature the one from the 74. You will find it on 74s, 74S, 74... I'm sorry. All the 74s, most of the AKMs, some AKMSs, I think, all the Series 100. The same thing. and all these rails will be compatible. In fact, these rails are also partially compatible with the ones from the SVD, ASVAL, and VSS. Alternatively, this is a B13 from Asura Dynamics. You can find them in AliExpress from other manufacturers. These right now are quite cheap. You can find them for 15 euros. Also, for around the same price on AliExpress, you have this copy of the Midway Industries. Basically the same, but maybe you don't want to, maybe you want something different, not everything Zenit or Magpul or whatever. So to spice things up a little. Also, these are QD, which means that no matter what you have on it, if it's zeroed, you take it off, you put it on again, you will not lose zero if it's properly adjusted. How do you adjust it? You have a small Allen screw down here. Adjust that to your preference so that it enters easily, and when you clamp it, so it won't go anywhere. I used it for years now, different sides, never loses zero. But if I had another, maybe a magnification side, maybe something like a short dot on this baby here, I could easily, even mid-game, swap them. You will see that it does have some wobble on the AK, because this was I previously used this on the VSS from LCT. Again, this one has a nut here, which you can again adjust to your preference. Make sure, rules are, make sure that it enters easily when it's open, and when it's closed, make sure that it will not wobble. As you can see, this one wobbles, so that's a bad thing. There are also some interesting mounts. There is one that I use for the short dot, which is just a side clamp with 30 millimeter, come on, rings for a scope. I used the short dot on that. You will also find one that's, I think it's also a copy of the Midway Industries. It's shorter, it has a rail down here, and then you have an accessory for either a 30 millimeter red dot, which will be your aim points, the big ones, or a smaller rail for RMR or T1 or something like that. And it's just a little tiny thingy on the side. That one may be compatible with the AKS74U, because these will not be compatible with the AKS74U, the Xusha, because they are too long. The rails will collide with the rear sight. So keep that in mind. I know some people that just cut that rail and it worked perfectly. So you have the mount, but the mount itself is way too long. You can correct that. You can go other ways. You have the B18 rail from Zenit, which is copied by TWI, the Airsoft TWI, not the Texas Weapon Industries. It's expensive. It's hard to find, not much stock of it. And I do think for just a little piece of aluminum, 60, 80 euros is way too much. But luckily I don't own an AK-74U because I own an AK-74M. And last, I'm just gonna make it an AK-103. And I'm just going to put this mag here. The mags I use are cyma and D-Day. Both of them I get from Taiwangun. E&L mags are shit. Stay away from them. And that's it. That's the whole thing. That's my, from beginning to end, from tip to bot, everything you need to know. I told you about the pins. I told you about the muzzle devices. Here, there's nothing really, no rocket science here. Do keep in mind that the railed cover from Zenit goes clamped into goes screwed onto the handguard from Zenit. Important. And also, you know, make your own AK. I really like to, this is my civilian style AK, not going for alpha or anything. Civilian style with just a plain clothes kit, the one I showed on the last video. trying to make my own. There are many AKs, but this is mine. And if you have your AK setup, you want to share it, I want to make a live stream. It will be in Spanish, however, looking at the AKs of the community. In the Discord server, there is a text group called Gulag Mod Ad Hoc. You can check it out, see the AKs of the other people. The invitation to the Discord is in the description below. Many people from that Discord server will speak English, so in case you have any questions or something, you can ask them in English and you will get an answer. However, most of the people, as most of the community of the channel, speak Spanish. But hey, you can practice your ¿Dónde está la biblioteca? And all that kind of things. That's it. That's it. Easy. A couple tools, most of them you'll probably have around the house. Nothing specific. My skills are poor, believe me. So if I can do it, you can do it. Usually mid-game, I would swap this hanger or the standard one for this one because it has I have the light. This is a Chinese light. It has zoom, which means that I can point, since this is an outdoors gun, I can point during night games at something specific, marking targets when I'm standing behind. If I could clear rooms with it, I will probably just use a unzoomed version, but also you can concentrate that lumen amount, which is not huge. This is Chinese flashlight after all, but pretty useful stuff. And also you have the AFG Chinese one, and I can locate that button easily. The handguard is a copy of the CAA or is CCA, that one manufacturer from Israel, I think. And this is the copy from cyma. And as always, just put it on, hit it hard with a hammer, and it's in. I've used it for so many years now, maybe since the beginning, since 2014. And no issues whatsoever. I just wanted to try the Zhukov ones. I saw them on AliExpress, they were cheap. I got one and it's fine. However, I do want to try one from a Russian manufacturer, but this is for a real gun. I have to go there, I have to buy it. It's quite expensive, 100 and something euros, but it's more similar to something like a Mark 16 from Geisley. That aluminum, real low profile, long hanger goes all the way there. The Zhukov, you can find it in two sizes. You have the smaller one, which resembles more something like a classic AK handguard. What the fuck is it here? Smaller one, and then you have the other one that goes all the way up here. I got this one because I have the 105 front end, and I was afraid it won't be compatible, but I think it actually would be. Now, I will not teach you how to swap the front end or the outer barrel assembly, which is this one, because you're not able to buy these separate. I got these from a second-hand group in Facebook years ago, maybe 2016 or something like that. And originally my AK was 105, but that was a wrong choice. You should get 74M, especially if you're not like really short and you're not afraid that it will be too big of a gun for you. I'm 6'2", I'm fine with that. Problem is that Ratnik kit, most military kits will not have access to 105, they will have 74M. However, FSB, SSO, SVR, all the other police or elite type troops will have both access to 105s and 74Ms, which is why the 74M is the universal choice. So yeah, but this is basically remove the hop-up assembly. There are two small screws that you will find there. You will need a small Allen key, get in there maybe with a flashlight, kind of pain in the ass. That do require tools. You won't be able to do that easily on the go during a game. But again, why would you? Why would you change the whole front end of your gun unless you have to change a hop-up rubber or something internal? In that case, that's a whole different story. In this case, we're talking about your gun works perfectly, but maybe it's a day-night cycle. Maybe it's a patrol on vehicle versus on foot cycle. and you have to change some accessories. Because again, I talked about this before, I think, but while you cannot co-witness the iron sights perfectly, you do, I mean, you can see something through, but it's just a long shot. You can't see the iron sights through the EOTech or by any means when you have the B13 on, but you can easily just detach it and use those irons on the go. Just drop it in your pack, inside a pocket, in your friend's dump pouch. That's a classic, and you're good. Again, if you are using that thing with the gas tube, as I shown earlier, with the T1, no matter what happens, you can still see those irons, but with this little fella with the RMR, you won't be able to. What will you do in that case? Well, this is an AEG, which means that it will work perfectly even if you don't have a gas tube. So if you run out of batteries, it's broken, it lost zero, you cannot use that, and you need those iron sights, which I always recommend using even for airsoft. Just take out the gas tube. It looks silly, I know, but just go like this. You will still see the irons. It will work perfectly. I don't know if it's applicable to GBBRs. I don't think so. And that's it. That's the gun. Now, with the CTR, you will be easily able to look through the irons. Sometimes, you know, when you swap the stock with the PT1 and PT3, I tried it with the PT1, it happens. You have to take out the cheek rest. Even if you're using something like a helmet with contacts, you will still be able to see those irons. They won't get in the way. They're there, right? It's fine, no problem there. But again, if you're really getting into swapping parts, unless it's for a milsim game when you're afraid that you won't be shooting at all, or maybe you don't want to break anything because your rifle is as fragile as the most fragile attachment it has. For me, it will be the red dots. The stocks, the handguards, everything else seems pretty sturdy to me. So again, as I said, maybe you're defending base, maybe you're doing some urban stuff in a big milsim game, and you're using that red dot because you really want that advantage of having just a dot that's perfectly zero to where your BB goes at the distance you have it set to. Maybe during the day, you don't need that dot, but during the night, it really comes in handy, especially if you combine it with that flashlight where some guys of your team will use the lights to mark the guys. You just put that dot on them real quick and easy to engage them that way. And maybe you're going on a longer reconnaissance patrol and just thinking, you know what, I won't need the sight, more weight, more bulk, and I won't be shooting at all, so I just take it off, leave it in your pack, leave it at base. For me, it's a really nice feeling of being able to swap out the parts mid-game, especially if it's a big game. And that's basically it. Now, I didn't go through the hassle of switching up the standard AK sling that I used with the 74M as standard. I'll be using this TMC copy of the VTAC padded sling for reasons. I will remind you, however, that paracord loops are your friends and that you may use them in different situations for the front end if you're left-handed, for the stock if you're right-handed, because the rear the rear sling mount, first of all, is on your stock, so when you swap it, you lose it. And second is on the right side because it's meant to be used with the folded stock. So if you're running something like 2 point, 3 point, or mostly single point, you will feel that with a single point. One of these loops is really going to save you. So you just run it through the standard one around the stock, and then you have it on your proper side. I do use it anyway, even though I'm left-handed, because I really prefer to have that loop. It's silent, but also it's much more safe, because and this happened to me with a sling. I was using this one. I was using a Chinese copy of an MS3 Magpul sling, and the sling attachment is small. I mean, the sling hook is small. Is it the hook? Yes. And the attachment is thick because it's meant to run through that whole sling. So what will happen is this. It will run there, and from the weight, from the walking, from the jumping, it will deform and it might just go loose. You might lose that sling attachment. And this is an E&L stock. This is a good one. So be careful with that. If you're using that type of sling with a small attachment, if you're using something like this that just goes through, maybe if you're using HK clips, any type of small clip, make sure to use one of them paracord loops. But most of you will be right-handed, so I recommend using one of these anyway. Left-handed will just have to run the loop through here and then run it between the gas block and the gas tube and the barrel. This is airsoft, so it won't get hot. In real life, I won't recommend doing that. But what I usually do with this M-lock handguards is just run the sling through the M-lock, just like that. And there you go. All right, it's right here. Really easy stuff, really. Oh, look at that. This happens. This is, you see, AR-15 parts. This is what happens. I'll have to adapt some, I'll have to work on this because it's sideways. I don't care. I'll fix it up eventually. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching. As usual, the best support you can give is share this video with your friends if you find it useful. If you think that someone's working on his AK, maybe someone that knows more than I do, that type of thing is welcome. Criticizing, that's good. Maybe I said something wrong. Maybe I said something was compatible with something and it's not. Maybe I messed up some of the sizes of the things that I talked about. Also, if you have an AK, tell me about your configuration. As I said before, we are going to do that live stream on Twitch through Discord. So we're going to be using the pictures of the community, see what they did. If you have a JHK AK, tell us about your experience. That comment section is for you. And also you will find links to different shops that may be interesting regarding AK externals for VFC, cyma, LCT, E&L, and JHK. It will be mostly from Asia, so no matter where you're watching this from, they will probably ship to you. In case of Asia Airsoft, that's free shipping, at least for Spain. I'm guessing US it will be the same. And that's it. That's it. Thank you very much for watching. Yeah,